Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is an AMX ELC or ELC AMX, depending on when you join the game, is the both are correct. And it's located on the south spawn of Prokhorovka under the command of Elirox. Now it's a tier 5 light tank, but technically speaking it should be a tank destroyer, because that's what the French were after when they started the ELC project. Yes, they wanted a prototype tank destroyer with originally they asked for a 90mm gun. Now in the game they've actually fitted a 75mm gun, and you can either have the short barrel one, which is the stock one, or the medium one, which is or the long one, which is actually the intermediate. Now that gun will rotate all the way around, but the 90mm has only got a limited traverse, mainly down to the fact that obviously the gun is very, very big, and the enemy's trying to get him. There's two enemy Arty, an SU-122 and a Leffy, a 105 Leffy H18B2. Now, the Leffy will be firing once every 10 seconds or so he's going to be a bit of a challenge. The 122 is less so. In fact, there's also an M44 on the enemy team. I didn't spot that. So they've got 3 Arty who'll be chasing him. Now Elirox's game is to actually locate as many of the enemy as he can, and not to get hit objects like that, because if he does, he might actually get hit in return by an enemy shell. Yeah, you've got to avoid bumping into objects, and it's fairly easy to do that in the field on Prokhorovka. Now with the 75mm gun, it's capable of 110 alpha and penetrating through 100mm of armor. It's also got a top speed of 60 kilometers an hour, and it's only got a crew of 2 as well as the commander and the gunner. Reload, standard reload is 4.3 seconds, but I think Elirox has got a slightly better reload than that. Okay, so far he's spotted a fair number of enemy tanks, so he might be on for a scout medal. We'll just have to wait and see. Keeping his eye out for any enemy. He keeps going near the bowl, but he doesn't go into it. Now the enemy did send a Leopard tank into the bowl, but he's not there anymore. So either he pulled out and went north, or he's hiding in a bush somewhere. And he's spotted a few more. There's an M10 RBFM off in the distance, and he's got hit. So, yep, Elirox is picking up spotting assist. And there's the Leopard. And he's gone. He just got taken out by a Jackson. So that's good for Elirox, and he's now pushing forward to try and get spots on the enemy. This is where it gets really exciting for a light tank driver. Now the ELC project was actually the Engin Léger de Combat, or light combat vehicle. As I said, it was supposed to be a tank destroyer, not a light tank as it is in the game. There is an example, it's in the French Tank Museum at Semur, and that A20 managed to get past him without being spotted, or without him being spotted, but of course he has been spotted now. Yep, there's his 6th sense going off, but in fact now he's being chased by the A20, and the A20 is trying to ram him. Of course he's a very light tank, but he does get a hit, and the A20 is dead. He was attracting Arty fire there as well, and so long as he's in the bowl like this, he is fairly easy to hit. He's holding his turret in the rear just in case anybody tries to chase him. Okay, now this is interesting because he's now going to go into enemy territory to locate them. I did see an enemy Arty shell coming from a spot at A5. And in fact, actually, there is somebody in A5. It's the SU-122 and the BP is in A6. So he's just spotted 2 enemy vehicles. And he's reversing into a bush here now. He has spotted that T-78 in the bush, and he's marking it for his teammates. He's not going to fire himself because obviously he would give away his position. And so long as he's here, the enemy is getting spotted without them being able to do anything about it. And in fact, the SU-122's got taken out by our Fifi. And of course, he's also spotting that other Fifi for our teammates. There you go. He's taking fire. Oh, he's taking damage. Now he's tempted to shoot. Will he actually go ahead and do so? He might, you know. But if he does, he will be spotted virtually immediately. He's being invaluable to his team at the moment. And yes, there goes the enemy Fifi, taken out by our Fifi. So, what's next? Well, he's got to go and find some other enemy tanks. And he's just holding his camera at this moment on the northwest corner of the map because he thinks there's more enemy tanks up there. There's still 7 enemy in the game. We're 2 up on the enemy. Just going to go for a quick spot, using the tree line to try and mask his approach. Oh, it's found someone, and it's the enemy M44. He puts a round in, gets a nice 121 high roll, and there goes the M44, destroyed in the end by him because he got a kill shot just at the moment he got struck by Arty. So the Arty on our side actually probably benefited there from stun assist. Now he's going back down the tree line because there might be some more enemy tanks that he didn't spot. And yes, he did. There's an SU-100, so he did the right thing by doing that because now he's actually found him. He's got behind him and pumps around him, but the Jackson takes the kill. So there's no enemy left on the west side of the map. So now he can go and do his job on the east side of the map over the railway line. This is fantastic work by Elirox. Just what a light tank should do. Go find the enemy, let your teammates gorge themselves on all these targets that keep popping up whilst they're in range. And he's found another one. It's a Wolverine. Now, the Wolverine, 76mm gun and very light armor. Yep, takes his first shot, gets a low roll for 103, but he's now going to keep going around because that guy's traverse, his turret traverse is terrible. And oh, he does take a hit from the Wolverine for 129, but that guy's a goner now. There's nothing he can do. He's out of it. Yep, there you go. So he's got another kill. First the M44, then the Wolverine. There's only one enemy left. It's the Matilda Black Prince, and he's way down the other end of the map, and so Elirox has got a hell of a drive to get down there. I'm sure he's enjoying this game no end. 3 marks on his barrel. You'd expect that he'd know how to handle this little beastie. And so if you want to see the real thing, it's at the Tank Museum at Semur in France. And now he's stopping to take a long-range shot. And before he can do so, the Matilda Black Prince is taken out by the T-78. So it's a victory. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was an ace tanker game for Elirox in the AMX ELC biz. In fact, it wasn't just any old game. This was an ace tanker Holy Trinity. And what's the Holy Trinity? Well, with the Holy Trinity, you get 3 medals, which I'll now explain. The Spotter medal for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage from your tank. He got a patrol duty for being the only one spotting 6 enemy tanks whilst they were damaged. And on top of that, he got a scout medal as well for getting the detection of at least 9 enemy vehicles. That's first detection of 9 enemy vehicles. So if you get those combination, the spotter, the patrol duty, and the scout, that's what we call the Holy Trinity. And that is what every light tank should aspire to do, because that means you were absolutely completely priceless to your team. You did your job effectively, proved that you can handle a light tank, and if you did it with an ace tanker as well, that's just an added bonus. He also picked up a fire for effect for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle, but I think it's the Holy Trinity that you take notice of. His win rate for that battle was 3,842, which is Super Unicum standard, and it was a very, very good battle indeed. Let's have a look at team score. Well, he didn't get the highest damage in the game. No, he was letting his teammates get the damage because, of course, he was spotting the enemy tanks and they were slotting them. The Jackson managed to get 1,426 hit points but didn't get a high caliber because he didn't get 20% of the enemy hit pool. The The second highest damage went to the enemy Su-100, actually. He got 1,332. And the third highest damage went to the Churchill gun carrier, who managed to get 1,297 hit points. You can see that Elirox only got 712 hit points, but I think you'll see that he actually did do a lot more than just 712 in damage. He spotted for a lot of damage. When it came to kills, it was the T-78 who did the best for 4 kills. The Jackson managed to get 3. The Fifi on our team managed to get 3. And so did the Wolverine on the enemy team. The Wolverine that he actually killed right at the end of the game. When it came to base XP, he's the only player to get over 1,000. 1,202 went to Elirox. 824 went to the Fifi on his own team. And 803 went to the Matilda Black Prince. He fired 13 shots in that game, got 9 direct hits on the enemy and 8 penetrations, some of them at very close range. Damage of 712 hit points, all of it at close range. 2 hits received from the enemy. The M10 Wolverine got 1 hit into him, I'm afraid, and so did the A20 while he was fighting him in the bowl. And he spotted 10 enemy vehicles. He only needed 9 to get the scout medal, but he actually spotted 10. 3 enemy vehicles were damaged, 2 were killed, 3,816 hit points of spotting assist, and that's where he got the ace tanker. He earned 48,641 credits on a premium count, and after repair, ammunition, resupply, and consumables, took away 26,724 credits profit, 1,803 experience points, times 2 for the first victory, 1,804 for mission completion, and 1,803 from personal reserves, took away 7,213 experience points altogether. So a fantastic display of the AMX ELC and how effective it can be in a battle. I'm afraid it is a 2-man crew. We'll have a quick look at the armor layout. Here is the collision model of the AMX ELC, and you can see straight away that the best armor is actually at the front of the vehicle. But don't let that fool you. It may show red, but in actual fact it's very thin armor indeed. 25mm right at the very front of the vehicle. The upper plate is only 20mm armor, but actually coming out at 25 with the angling. The front plate 25. In fact, those are the best armor on the vehicle. The mantlet, you might say, well, that's slightly thicker. That's coming out at 34, but it's very small. In fact, the front of the turret is only impacted armor 20mm. The sides of the turret 15. The sides of the vehicle are 15. If any shell hits this vehicle, it's more than likely going to go straight through. And the reason is that obviously you don't want that heavy weight of armor slowing the tank down, but it's also because it's air transportable. You have to have lightweight armor because you don't want to have a huge amount of weight when you stick this thing in the back of a transport aircraft. Otherwise, you won't be able to carry that many of them. So it's very vulnerable to enemy fire. In fact, the best thing that will stop a shell is the tracks. That's about it. So if we look at the modules, unfortunately, the bad news is Wargaming, or rather Armor Inspector, hasn't got the module map for this vehicle. But what I can do is I can tell you where various people are. Now the commander is obviously on the left hand side and the driver is on the right hand side here. So the driver is actually in the cabin, but in the turret. The commander is actually carrying out 3 main roles. He's also a gunner and the radio operator and the loader, as well as the commander. So, well, 4 roles if you think about it that way. The driver is actually only supposed to be the driver, but I think he actually does handle the shells as well as a loader. But it's a very compact tank. The engine's up front here. The ammo is stored in the back of the vehicle. We can't tell you precisely where, but I do know the engine is up front on the AMX ELC, and of course AMX were putting the engine up front in some of their other tanks, like the AMX 13-ton or 12-ton tank, and also in the AMX 13-ton tank for that matter, 1375. So it was quite a habit of them to put the big engine up front and to put the crews further back. So that's all I can tell you. You can see that the 90mm gun only goes 15 degrees either side of the center line, and that's mainly because the 90mm gun just couldn't be rotated the whole way around without actually inconveniencing the driver. so they restricted its ability to traverse, and that could be inconvenient. But remember, this is actually supposed to be a tank destroyer, not a light tank, and as such, it's supposed to get the first shot off on the enemy, an ambush shot. And with a 90mm round, you'd normally take out the enemy tank with one quick shot and then run away as fast as possible, and that's why this tank does move rather quickly. But I'm afraid that's all the information I can give you on the AMX ELC. I hope you enjoyed that replay. If you did, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.